Hey everyone! Today we're going to talk about 5 signs that you might need a new therapist. Okay guys, so 5 signs you might need a new therapist. We're going to start with number 1, which is your therapist doesn't remember you. Or your stories or things about you. So if you feel like your therapist keeps messing up your name, your significant people in your family's names, or forgets your stories, it might be a sign that maybe you and your therapist aren't connecting the right way. Your therapist could be too busy. There's a lot of reasons that go into that, but if you're feeling like your therapist isn't remembering you and you're spending a lot of time reminding them, it might be time to kind of find someone new. So is it normal for a therapist to need reminding or ask the same question more than once? Of course, we're human too, right? So just like a friend might be like, hold on, what was your grandma's name? Or, okay, tell me this new guy's name again. Totally normal. But if you genuinely feel like this is occurring often, it might be time to find somebody new. The second is that your therapist shows up late or cancels often, right? And so this is a bummer because we hold you guys to standard of canceling in a certain amount of time or rescheduling in a certain amount of time. And so we should be holding that same respect for you guys. So if I'm a therapist or I'm your therapist and I keep flaking out a lot or no showing or canceling at the last minute, right, it might be time to find somebody new. The third is you feel ashamed to tell the truth. So we can't progress in therapy if we're not honest, right? There's no way as a therapist to help somebody if they're not able to tell the truth. But also part of that is on me to make sure I'm creating the right environment to where people can tell the truth. And so, and also kind of sensing when we feel like somebody might be skirting an issue just to kind of test us and see our reaction or how we feel about it before they can finish telling the truth, to be able as a therapist to know that person well enough to call that out and say like, hey, it looks like you might be worried about continuing to tell me what happened. You don't need to be worried. Let's work through it. So making sure that you feel like you can be open and honest with your therapist and tell them the truth of what's going on. The fourth that you may need to find a new therapist thought is if it feels like it is a chore to go. So therapy is hard work. So I need to caveat it with that. Therapy is hard work. If therapy is super easy and like a walk in the park, maybe it's going well, but I would question maybe it's not, because therapy is really to kind of test us and look at our thought patterns and our distortions and to work through those. And so oftentimes therapy is not a walk in the park. But on the other hand, we shouldn't dread coming to therapy or to see our therapist. That would make me question what the relationship is and if it's a good relationship and if you feel comfortable around your therapist. So making sure that that relationship is key. And the last piece, my fifth tip, is if you are not seeing improvement. So nobody wants to keep going somewhere and keep paying, because therapy can be expensive, right? Nobody wants to keep paying if they're not seeing improvement. And so if you're not seeing improvement, please have that conversation with your therapist, because what your therapist might think is happening versus what you think is happening might be two different things. And so make sure you guys are communicating like, hey, you know what? I feel like I came here with this problem of feeling really angry, and I feel like I'm still angry, and I feel like we haven't been working on it. Please, please, please bring this stuff up to your therapist. If your therapist doesn't have a response that you like or doesn't seem to acknowledge what you're saying, then it might be another reason or another thought about trying to find somebody else that's a better fit. And so I feel like I need to end this with therapists have lots and lots of training, and we have master's degrees. If you're a psychologist, you have a doctorate degree. We have lots and lots of stuff that we should be super, super proud of. But research tells us over and over and over again that the number one factor that will determine the success of therapy is the relationship. So it is so, so, so important that you have a good relationship with your therapist. There are lots of therapists out there. So if the one you're working with isn't right, please, please, please have a conversation with them so you can find somebody new. I have heard many, many, many times people say, well, I went to therapy and it didn't work for me. And it breaks my heart because that sometimes turns people off to therapy forever. When in reality, I wonder if they had the therapist that was a better fit for them, if they would have been able to stay in therapy longer and been able to get something out of it. And maybe that would have changed their belief system about therapy. So the relationship is so important, you guys. There are so many amazing therapists out there. There are lots of therapists out there, and there's a therapist for everyone, but every therapist isn't right for everyone. So make sure you find the one that's right for you. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.